0 to 5, what you can remember about that. And say you moved into 8, don't worry about it. And then we'll stop that, or we won't stop it, and then we'll say, what do you remember from 5 to 10? And you might not be able to remember anything. I can't. There's very little I can remember during that
Well, I
time.
don't know, I got a pretty good memory for,
But don't worry whether you can remember it or not, is what I'm trying to get across. If you've got a good memory, that's to your advantage, and to our advantage. And then we'll go 5 to 10, and then 10 to 15, and then the high school careers, and then in the military, and then
yeah,
when you dated LaRue and got married, and your children, and then eventually toward the end we'll get your impressions of Grandpa and Grandma.
oh, down again, okay, then that's,
Yeah, so that.
that'd be all right.
Yeah, and you'll say, well, I remember, and then you might have to go back and say, I remember when I was 8 or around there, Grandpa and Grandma, but that'll all pass around, and it'll work.
Yeah.
And Mary Alice and I are both going to ask you questions, and so don't worry about if we ask you questions or anything like that. Okay? Let me see if this is working first. Any impressions, anything?
Do I have a microphone?
Sure. It's right here.
Oh.
It's there. You don't need a mic up to your phone.
I didn't know that easy.
It's easy.
You going?
It's gone. It's on.
Okay. In 1923, on the 23rd of May, I was born to Leonard Clark and Edith Clark. We lived in a house in Colville. Let's see.
Just keep talking. Don't worry about whether it's logical or reasonable. Just talk.
We moved into another house after I was born in Colville. I remember walking up through the field to get sick horses to ride back down when I was 4 years old.
Was the house in Colville, where was that located?
Well, it's up on the end of that street that goes right straight up from the church house. On about up there by Ern Wiles's. I don't know, do you?
Okay, because Grandpa and Grandma Clark lived in a house right across from Ern Wiles.
Yeah, okay, now let me tell you about that.
Okay.
Okay, Grandpa Clark, my dad's father,
Right.
lived in Russ Bristol's rock house after they come down from Clough Ward.
Mm-hmm.
When we moved out of that house, went up on the farm, James O. Clark moved into our house. It had a small field for hay and a barn there that we used to play in.
Right, I remember that. So that's the house you were born in?
No, I was born in Owen Staley's house down there by the creek.
The one he's in now?
Yes.
Oh, I know where that is, okay.
Yeah, that's then we moved up there to that house, and we moved up there to that house where we lived until 1929. I remember Uncle Ira coming down in a car in a coupe that he went to get the AC in.
Mm-hmm.
One time when he came down, I wanted to go with him. So like a kid that didn't have any sense, I went and climbed. He took off, and I went and climbed on the back tire and went down there and fell off by John Willoughby's house right where the railroad track.
I know where that is.
Yeah, that's right. Also at John Willoughby's house, a train come along and parked there one day. The sparks from the engine got on the roof and set it on fire.
Oh, wow, I never knew that one.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that was when I was just a small boy.
Okay. So you moved up to Chalk Creek in
29. I moved up there just as I turned 6 years old when I went into the first grade.
Okay. Now, did you go to school up in Chalk Creek, or did you go to school in Colville?
No, at that time, they had just begun the buses, so I went to school down to Colville. My first grade teacher was Kate Lemon. I was in the first grade for 2 years. Then I went in the second where Bonnie Farrell taught me in the second grade.
Okay, she was my teacher in the first grade,
Yeah.
Bonnie Farrell.
Zana Jensen was my third grade teacher. Merle Robertson was my fourth grade teacher. Paulie Powell was my fifth grade teacher. And Jim Morby was my sixth grade teacher.
Oh, yeah,
That's
Party
all
Powell
in-
was my sixth grade teacher. Okay, we had the same teachers in there.
Yeah. Let's see, in 19, I remember I had to go into the first grade for 2 years before I graduated out of the first grade.
Okay,
Then I went to second grade and had Bonnie. I don't remember too much about that, but by the time I got in the third grade, I had my multiplication and division well underhand so that I could, progress.
when did you remember learning to read? First grade?
Probably the first grade. I don't remember too much about that.
Okay,
But I guess I learned I was just a little, being on the farm without kindergarten, I was just a little bit slow. But after I got into third grade, went along with the rest of them all right.
that's good. Now, let's see, you started in what, let's see, 29, you started in 19,
I started school in 1929, the year we moved up on the farm.
okay,
I remember going up on the farm, we put the furniture we put the furniture on a wagon and a hay wagon when we moved up there. That's right, I do.
yeah, I know. I don't agree with that, it just seems fun, that's what all the transportation we got, so let's use it.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I remember Dad working up to the mine. He used to walk down the track.
Now, was he working in the,
He worked in the Weber mine.
which is above the cemetery?
No, up Spring Hollow.
Oh, Spring Hollow, right?
Yeah,
by the
right
church.
where Joseph Wilde lives,
Right,
right
I
up
know
that
where he-
lane up there. He worked in the Weber mine up there
Okay,
until Roberts let the stupid mine get on
yeah,
fire.
I heard about that one.
Yeah,
Then they had to close that one.
that's right.
And then he went over to
Chapel's is,
Chapels's.
yeah.
Okay. Now, what do you remember about the 6th, 7th, 8th, middle, were you in the elementary school and then you moved over to the high school in the 6th grade or 7th
No,
grade?
the elementary school and the high school wait a minute, the elementary school and high school was all in the same building.
Ah, okay.
The elementary was in the north end of the building, the senior, or the junior and senior school was to the south.
Okay,
And they moved around in classes,
right.
sixth,
okay.
7th, and 8th, 9th grade.
I see. Now, some of your teachers in the middle school, high school, what were their names?
Well, I don't know, I repeated the teacher, you want me to repeat?
Well,
it
no,
again?
the elementary. Now I'm saying let's go in the middle school.
Well, all right, Keith Robinson's mother was was she a history teacher or English? I don't know. We had Amos Sargent in the high school. We had Colton. Okay, we had Washburn in arithmetic. We had
Carmichael, was he in there?
yeah, he was in the senior high school.
Right.
I took an art class off of him.
Yeah. Did you have Mickelson?
Oh yeah, I love Mickelson. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He was in the senior high school and
Okay.
also the speech Shakespearean.
Okay.
No, and
Did you have C.B. Copley? You had him?
no, he was the principal at that time.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that. I knew
Oh,
he was
yeah,
principal, but I thought he always
Well,
taught.
Right after C. Ray Evans went out, he was the principal, but I never had him as a teacher.
Ah, okay.
Let's see.
Now, you played football, didn't you?
Yeah, I got my letter in football, but I never played much.
Okay, but that's okay.
Just like you said, I couldn't. Like Silky said about me, I couldn't even dribble. He's right.
Yeah. He couldn't believe, Silky, when he saw me play basketball, I played at BY High, and he couldn't believe, he says, "You're Lauren's brother." He says, "Where did you come from?"
Oh, well, I was more like my father. I never done, you know what I mean? Sometimes kids, if their dad isn't athletic, well, the kids are not, but you were.
Well, he couldn't figure out where I came from.
Well, you're on Herbert's side of the family.
Yeah, I probably was, so I got the lean and mean, I guess, or whatever. Okay. Did you, let's see, what else you do in high school? Any plays or anything like that that you,
Not too much, I don't think the only play that I was in the seminary.
oh,
They
good.
had, when they had, the birth of Jesus. Okay, that's something else. When I was a little baby, Mother put me in the church cantata, and I was Jesus, or you know, the baby in the
Oh,
crib.
the baby in the crib,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, all right.
Then, when I got in high school, I was in the play, and Alice Strone was Mary, and
I remember
I
that.
played Joseph, the father, in the seminary play.
Okay. Who was your seminary teachers? You remember any of those?
Yeah, Norberg.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, we had, I think I had Loris P. Allen. I don't remember him too much.
I remember in Norberg's.
Yeah, I like that. He was all right.
Yeah.
I had him in the seminary. Well, see, we started as soon as we got out of the sixth grade. We went over to the seminary building on the south side, down the south end of the high school.
Okay.
Where
What year did you graduate in high school?
1942.
And that was World War II, right?
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of them that quit high school to go get in the service, but I wouldn't, since I only had 3.5 months of getting my diploma. I wouldn't quit.
No.
So that's why I stayed in.
Well, the war started in December 41, and you graduated in June
Yes.
or May of
No,
42.
I graduated in June 42.
Yeah, okay. What did you do from May of 42 until you went in? When did you go in the service?
Well,
October?
Yes, I
October
stayed
43?
on the farm as
Okay.
long as I could.
Right.
And so then in October of 43, they inducted me into the Army.
Now you went in with who? Marion Tree? Who else?
Marion Tree and Calvin Hall from, I don't know whether you know
Oakley.
him, Oakley, yes.
Yeah, I remember.
And us three went down together.
Now, how come you got in the Marines and not in the Army?
Well, I can't figure it out, but when I got down there, they decided they didn't want me in the Army, even though I was in Army induction.
Okay.
And so they said, we want some of you guys in the Marine Corps, because at that time, they had just went through the Tarawa battle and needed replacements.
Right, the Tarawa.
So
I remember that.
they took me in the Marine. I said, and I got thinking about it, I said, oh, I don't care, I'll sign up anyway. So I went in the Marine Corps.
Now, you went in October of 43, and then from there you went to San Diego, right? Camp Pendleton?
That's right, yes, you're right, Camp Elliott.
Camp Elliott or Pendleton, which one?
No, Camp Elliott.
Okay, I hadn't
I
heard
was
of
in
Elliott.
Camp Elliott,
Okay. But that was close to Pendleton, wasn't it?
yes.
Okay,
No, Pendleton was quite a little ways to the north.
okay. And then from there you took off and went to Hawaii?
Well, yeah, I went on about the 15th of, I don't know, the 12th or the 15th, we got on a merchant mariner and
The
we went to
15th of
Hawaii.
December, right?
Huh?
15th, 12th or 15th of December?
No, January.
Okay, so you had
I was
October?
in camp and, I was in training camp until about the 1st of January.
Okay,
Then they all got together and loaded us up on a merchant mariner who took us to Hawaii.
now how long did that trip take?
I don't
How long
know,
were
about
you
5
on?
or 6 days.
Okay.
It was pretty slow. It was a pretty slow boat. Well, let's see. Pull that out. Just a minute, I'll help you out if Harlan's not going to sit there. Come on, get up there. No, she can go.
Yeah, but it'll fall.
That's her place on the.
If she
Well, I
did
know,
that-
but if you're gonna, oh, you're still shooting?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
Maybe
well,
she'll
then
sit down.
maybe
Will
she's
she
gotta
lie
come
down?
back down.
Here she go, lie down.
Well, she'll lay down, yeah, she
There
does
we
that.
go.
Okay.
Oh, we'll keep the dog happy here. Okay, so you were then, and you went, what island on Hawaii did you go to?
Well, I went to, we landed in Hawaii in Hilo.
Hilo, okay.
Yeah, Hilo. We landed in Hilo, Hawaii. Then they put us on trucks and took us over to a Parker Farm, which was down there in the middle of the island.
Now, Hawaii is the big island.
Yes,
Okay.
that's not Honolulu.
Right, Oahu is.
Oahu's not Honolulu.
Yeah.
And we went through training there.
Now, what kind of training was that?
Well, just,
Advanced training, they call it, or something?
no, I was just a foot soldier.
Well, we need foot soldiers.
Huh?
We need foot soldiers.
That's what I was. We went, let's see, we landed there in January. We went there to Hilo, and then we went to camp outside of Hilo there.
Okay. Now, how long were you in that area in Hawaii?
Well, from the middle of January to
1944, okay.
about was it May, June, till we was there about 5 months in training.
Okay.
Then we got ready and got on the boat, and then they had a little island operation right there in Hawaii on another one, only they just landed us on the ground and then took us back on the boat.
Oh, so
That's
you had a
training.
practice run?
Yeah, just practice run, yeah.
Okay.
Then on the 4th of June, they hit Europe in Normandy.
Right.
And then 4 days later, we hit Saipan. We went we went ashore on Saipan.
Oh, okay.
See, just 4 days. So they was rocking.
Rocking both sides of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Now,
That's
you
right.
landed in the water on Saipan, you walked on the water?
Yeah, they put us out in the water there, and we had to run in on the beach and
Okay.
not. But the Army helped us out on Saipan because they made a purge there on the Japs, and we didn't have to do all that heavy fighting. I was more or less, since I came in late on the Marine Corps, I was put in on this, I don't know, with the guys that hadn't been in the combat too much, and
Okay.
so we were more or less the second wave or third wave or
Okay.
something like that, on the island.
Now, you were on Saipan you finally helped capture Saipan, right?
About the 4th, yeah. Yeah, about the 4th we landed there, then we stayed there on the beach for 2 or 3 days, and the guns of the U.S. Navy was bombarding over our head there all night, and I never got any sleep for 2 nights, but they kind of cleaned them out.
Okay. And how long were you on Saipan?
Well, Saipan was our main camp base till the end of the war. We was on Saipan until, I don't remember now, it was only a short period after they took Saipan and run the Japs off the north end of the island, that we went and hit Tinian. We went over.
Now, Tinian's real close to Saipan.
Yeah, it's about only 50 miles or something like that, not very far.
Now, Saipan had an airport on it, didn't it?
No, they took, not too much, no. That was mountains. They took Tinian because it had a great big long 8,000 foot airfield that they developed
Okay.
to take the bombers to Japan.
Okay, so.
No, that's right.
But Saipan didn't have an airport.
No, they only had a little one.
A little one, okay, but not the big one like Tinian.
No, they didn't have a big one like Tinian
Okay.
did.
So when did you land on Tinian? Approximately.
Oh, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 months later.
Meaning you're into July, August, somewhere,
Yeah,
September?
I don't remember that
Okay.
far.
And how long did it take you to take Tinian?
Well, not about 3 months or something, like 3 or 4 months.
So you're in now into November, December of 44, right?
Yeah.
At Tinian.
Well, we took Tinian, then we went back on Saipan,
Yeah.
which was our main base.
Right, okay.
To camp, and stuff like that.
Okay,
We set the camp up there.
okay. And then so you went back to Saipan. So you're now in December, January 45.
Yeah.
And then from there you went where, Okinawa or someplace?
No, we hit a little bit of a little small, real small island on the south end of Japan called Aiyashima.
Oh, I've never heard of that one, okay.
Well,
Keep
you
talking.
wouldn't, it's only a little place.
We'll find it.
Then we.
How, you know how to spell it at all, Lauren? If you don't, we'll look it up.
Shema, I guess, I don't know, Aiyashima is what they called it.
Okay,
Then after that, they secured that one, and then after that, they put us ashore on Okinawa,
okay.
where the army was, and then it wasn't too long, the army just about had that contained, only we went aboard on,
So when did you land on Okinawa, roughly? Was it in the spring of 45,
yeah, I guess so,
April?
spring or summer,
Okay, at 45,
yeah, in 45,
okay.
that's right.
Now, Okinawa is a big island.
Yeah, that's right.
Airports, docks.
Yeah, that's right. The Army was on there and all, and the Marines was on there. We didn't stay there too long. And of course, then after that, we went back to Saipan
Oh,
again.
you went back to Saipan.
Yeah, that's our home base.
Now, you were gonna go back to Saipan to get ready to land on Japan, right?
Right.
Did you know that? Did they tell you about that, or did you just kind of figure that out?
No. Well, I just figured it out after they dropped them two bombs in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. That kind of cooled them.
Yeah,
That one bomb killed 100,000.
yeah.
That kind of cooled them a little bit. They didn't want no more of that.
Yeah, that was a,
So that was kind of more or less the end of the war. But I know that if Japan hadn't have surrendered, they would have brought all the forces in Utah over Europe from over there over to Japan.
oh yeah, they were
Oh
ready.
yeah, they was really going to get them.
They're gonna get them. On that. Now,
You know,
you knew, where were you when they surrendered in Europe? Were you on Okinawa or were you back on
yeah, I was in
Saipan?
Okinawa.
When you heard they'd surrendered in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That was May of 45, I think. when they
Okay. Also about that time they hit Iwo Jima. Dean Winters was on that one.
I remember Dean Winter.
Yeah, he was on that one. He was a quarter Marine, I heard.
Yeah. Well, he lost a leg, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that. He's kind of handicapped, I guess.
Yeah.
He was in on that one. He was in the 3rd Marine Division. We was in reserve of Iwo Jima, but we never did have to move.
How far was Iwo Jima from Saipan, would you figure? Or do you have any
Oh,
idea?
I don't know. I think Iwo Jima is pretty close to Japan.
Yeah, it
You
is.
see, the Marianas had Saipan and Tinian, and then about 100 miles to the south is Guam.
Okay.
That's,
Now, how far from Saipan to Okinawa, though? How long were you on the boat when you went to Okinawa?
oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. It didn't move too fast. What do I remember? I know I was on the water about nearly 120 days, a total, when I left the States to when I got back.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. We had a lot of boat time.
A lot of boat time.
Traveling on those, what do you call it,
Troop transport.
troop transports, and, what do you call it, them ones that has those tracks on them and stuff like that. That's what we got onto them ones that had tracks on them when they went in on Okinawa, or Saipan.
Okay. Oh, we're in good shape here. Okay, so we're back to Okinawa, and we're now back to Saipan. You went out of Okinawa and back to Saipan again, right?
Yeah,
And then
that's
from Saipan, you went into Japan.
that's correct. I went in, okay, I remember this. We went into that area, Nagasaki area, where they dropped the bomb, but they wouldn't let us go around in the area because of the radioactive material.
How close were you figured to the center of where they dropped the bomb? How close did you actually
Well, I
get?
don't know, it was only about a mile or two away from Nagasaki. I mean, what,
You saw buildings knocked
Where
down
the-
because, And the
Before the
bomb,
bomb hit, you see, we landed in Nagasaki.
right?
Wait a minute. Nagasaki?
That's
Yeah,
right.
we landed in Nagasaki. They put us on a train and took us, see, there's a kind of a big bay or big water on the south end of the island, and we went over to Kumamoto.
Okay,
That's where they put us up in, they put us up in Kumamoto in an airfield hangar that, was for the Air Force, the Japanese Air Force, so
Okay.
we stayed there. And I'm sure glad, because as soon as we got in the building and around the buildings that in Kumamoto, they had a typhoon hit them boats out on the ocean, and they just flipped around like matchsticks, I heard.
oh wow.
Yeah.
So you got in Japan roughly when,
About-
September?
Yeah, somewhere, yeah, we went into Japan in September. About the,
45, okay.
yeah, 45, that's correct.
Okay. And you were in Japan from September through
Until
when? January?
About the 1st of December.
Okay,
The 1st of December, we went in there and they give us liberty, and I was glad for that, because you get to associate. They let us go into town and have liberty, and I was very pleased at that, because we got to associate with the Japanese people just like you and me, just regular citizens, you know what I mean, and talk to them. I met a Korean over there that was, let's see, had been in Colorado and then went back. I talked to him quite a bit. He was
because
good
he
in
could speak
Colorado.
English, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they teach English over there in their schools. I talked to him for quite a bit, and I met, of course, you meet, sometimes you meet a girl or two, and they're always wanting to get married to come back to the United States and
Yeah,
stuff like that. They know it's a better life back here.
for sure. Yeah, okay, then in December, let's see, January, then you got discharged?
Well, now, wait a minute, no, we moved from Kumamoto over to Sasebo, the shipping yard.
Okay,
When I was in Sasebo there, we got ready to come home. They put us on a big boat called the USS Cap. I went back to the United States. But while I was there, I saw a lot of Koreans who were slave labor, and all they had was a sack on their back, and they was sure glad to get out of there.
oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah. Well, the Japs made slaves of everybody for the war effort. They did.
So they were sending those Koreans
Yeah,
back?
they was returning the Koreans back to Korea.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
okay.
Okay, they also had, when we got ready to come home, they had a big pile of these here Jap 25s on it that you could pick up and take it home.
Right,
And so what I done, I picked one up. I took it down to Dean, I don't know what his last name was, down to a gun shop on 2nd South and about 250 East. And I had him rechamber that 25 to a 257 American.
right, I remember
That's
that.
right.
Where, you still got that gun?
It's in the closet, you
Oh,
know.
good, okay, I don't want to, hope you got it somewhere.
I haven't had anybody get another, unless somebody wants it. I don't think I can trust Dan Heed. I don't know about him. 18 years old.
No, I wouldn't give it to anybody.
Well, I don't care about, if somebody could take it and have a souvenir out of it, that'd be all right. I don't care.
Well, if your kids don't want it, I'll take it if it's
All
souvenir.
right.
But I don't, they ought to get first choice. First choice.
Well, I don't know what Steven wants.
Yeah.
He's
Okay. Okay, so you brought that back, and then you landed up, you came on boat from Japan into where, San Francisco or Los Angeles?
They sent us back to San Diego.
Okay,
On Christmas Eve, we got back into San Diego on the boat at Christmas Eve, what is it, 45?
right,
So then they had us in a group, and some of them were sent to back east, and some of them were sent right there in San Diego, but they sent me to San Francisco, up at Vallejo, California, where I got discharged.
okay. And then you went up on a train.
to Vallejo.
Yeah, that's right. I went up on a train, and after I got discharged, I found somebody that had one of the guys there got a car, and he picked up about 5 of us, and we went to, what was it, across the bay or to someplace over there. They picked a train up to come back to Salt Lake
Yeah.
from Vallejo, California.
Probably went to Oakland.
Well, I don't know.
Because when we went into San Francisco, and they could have changed then, the train didn't go into San Francisco. Went into Oakland, then we took a bus into
I don't remember now.
But they could have been
All I know is that kid took us
over to the train.
over to the train, that's right, where I got on it and come back to Ogden. That was in January of '46.
Right. And then from Ogden, let's see, you stayed there 2 or 3 days or a week or so. And
Yeah, I would took a couple of days with it. I knew where Aunt Bessie was, so I went down there. They put me up for a couple of days, I guess.
yeah, that was good. And then from there you came back. How'd you get to Colville?
Well, Uncle Clyde took me up.
Oh, really?
He took me up. He said, well, wait a couple of days. I stayed there 2 or 3 days, and he took me home.
Oh, that's good.
Well, so that was all right.
Why not?
Yeah.
And when you got home, where did you start? What did you do? You didn't start working for anybody, did you?
No, I didn't work for anybody. I think the first job I had was I helped Alan Jones in the hayfield for about a week or so up there. Then that was in the summertime, and then I never got a job from Mountain Fuel until August of '46 when I went. They wanted some people to help do some repair work, and so that was easy to get on the Mountain Fuel land.
Right.
That's the way that was. That was in '46.
And you stayed with Mountain Fuel till, when was it?
53 when they laid us off.
7
Me
years.
and Ted Rollison and Wally
Judd.
Judd. There was 4 of us. Whether they laid Ward off or not, there's 4 of us got laid off.
Ward Reese, no, was he in?
Oh, no, not Ward Reese.
Too bad.
And anybody that could drive a truck or manipulate a cat like a Ward, well, until
Well, that's right, Ward could do
Till
that.
later.
Yeah.
Well, he got laid off. He didn't want to stay there. Ward did. He was with me.
And when did you start dating LaRue? When did that?
Well, okay, now back in 1947, LaRue in the in December of '47, LaRue graduated from the nursing school. Superla and Owen were going together, and Owen asked me if I wanted to come down and go with somebody, and I said, why not? So that's how that started.
Right.
So through Superla, I met LaRue.
Right.
And,
You know where Owen is now?
yeah, he's in Russia.
Mongolia.
Well, I don't
Close
know.
by. Close by.
I don't know, I just knew he was up there somewhere.
Yeah, he's up in there.
I want to go and talk to him when he comes home about December, something like that.
Yeah, he's
I think
coming home.
coming back in December.
I don't know when he's coming back. But that's where he's at now, is Mongolia. Okay, then when did you get married?
Okay, let's see, I started going with LaRue when I started coming down with Superla with Owen. I don't remember what they were, I think they were just about married too, but not quite, I guess. I started going with LaRue just as soon as when I come down here and I met her. I met her over to the, what's that, Church Institute up there over on the 13th East.
Yeah.
I met her over there one night when Owen went over to get Superla.
Oh, okay.
And, what was it that mean? He was over there to a meeting or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
She went over there to LDS Institute.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's
I
where
went to that
first saw
same,
her.
we went to that same institute. It's still there.
Yeah.
The institute's still there. I don't know how much they use it, but I know it's still there. Nor if they still use it, I don't know. Okay, and you got married, when was it?
June the 9th, 1948. That was 6 months after she got out of nursing training. But the night that we got married on a Wednesday, on a Saturday, they had the graduation exercises up there for LaRue and University.
Right?
So so in the meantime, we got tickets for a hotel and a train to San Francisco for so the night that she graduated out of the university, we went and climbed on a train and went to San Francisco on a honeymoon.
Now, you got married,
June the 9th, 1948. That was, and on a Saturday, we went to California.
you got married on a Friday?
Well, I don't know.
Okay, June 9th, but you left the next day to California.
I thought, no, I thought we got married on a Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
And then there was another night we stayed in Carter Hotel. The night before we come down to Salt Lake, we had a wedding reception up there in Clough Ward.
Right.
And then, the next day, we went down to, I got train tickets for go to California on a train. And we took off, and we went down to San Francisco. But Ed and Irma told us that Ed and Irma had already been in San Francisco, so we stayed in that same motel and we, went around Alcatraz Island and out to Mira Woods and down to the zoo and what's that other place down there, the zoo and
Fisherman's Wharf.
yeah, well, the Fisherman's Wharf was right there. We was there and right there at the hotel they had this here up there in the tub they had crabs, so we went out and bought the crab to eat and brought it home to eat it and got some bread and had that. And that's what we didn't eat for supper.
Right.
Yeah, but
We did that one time. It was fun. Oh, that- And then,
well, we stayed there 2 or 3 days and then we went down to, we got on the board the train again and went down to Los Angeles. Where John and Bernice was. John, wait a minute, LaRue's cousin John Rowe, and he was uncle, or I can't remember his name now. Anyway, went down there and her cousin and her aunt Ida, along on the Miller side, and Rowe was a wholesaler in S&W, down right in Los Angeles.
right.
So we got a motel down there and stayed there a couple of days. And while we was there, we went out. John and Bernice took us out on the beach. I felt like overstuffed, because all I had on was a suit. And everybody else was running around in swimsuits on the beach.
Right.
Well, you know, that's the way that was. So we stayed there and we didn't travel too much. They took us around a little bit and then finally we got on the train again and come back home, back to Salt Lake. And then when we got back to Salt Lake, I think we found that Marjorie Chapel had that old home that we rented there for 2 years from Marjorie Newell Chapel, right there where they live, on that road coming off the freeway into Colville. That's
Yeah.
where they lived.
Uh-huh.
We rented there a couple of years, and then we found out that Gardner had a home over there where that's Dean Gardner and Morris Gardner and
Right.
Dad. They sold us their home for $37.50, which was a good deal. And we moved after 2 years. We moved into that, and I was so gutted again.
Yeah.
That was a good piece of property. The one that went over there, it had all the quaggrass out of it, and that dumb Viren, we made a garden on there 2 or 3 years, and that dumb Viren, he pulled that, so-called weeder and all that done, his disc or something like that, all that done to stir the quaggrass up. Never been out, had the quaggrass ever since. But we got a good garden over there. We had potatoes and corn and squash and carrots and onions and beans. We We had raspberries and strawberries and rhubarb and apples and all that stuff on there.
And when was Sandra born? Or
1949.
49, okay.
That was just a year after we got married.
Uh-huh.
In fact,
What's her birthday?
Huh?
What month was she born in?
April, I believe.
April.
I think April 9th or no, 9th is Mother's birthday.
April 49, let's see, okay.
Well, anyway, when she was born, why, Irma came up and took care of her, and we took off and went to Yellowstone,
Oh, that's
in
good.
old 41. That was a good old car. I could take the front seats out of it, put some blankets in it, or take them down, put some blankets in it and make a bed.
Yeah.
We used that two to three nights up at Yellowstone.
Oh, wow.
If we couldn't get, of course, the last night we was up there, we stayed in West Yellowstone in a motel.
Right.
But you just can't go get a room over there in
Yeah.
Yellowstone in June or something like that without
A
July,
resi-
without,
oh, yeah, that's
without
tough.
a resort.
Yeah,
See,
we had the same problem finding places up there.
well, we just pulled the front seats out and made a bed.
Good.
Yeah, it was all right.
So when was Renee, when was she born?
I think 1952. Janet was born a year later, in 53, that's what she says.
Now, when was Stephen born? When
1955. In 1955, he was born, and then 4 days later, I was working down there for Uncle Lou in prefabrication of steel, you know, welders, you know, stuff like that. I worked down there for 4 months. They gave me a job while I was out of work there after getting laid off non-fuel. And then I went, when I found out, I found out that that was the time Kennecott went on strike, and then around September, something like that. And so I figured that would be a good time to go see about a job, and so through Ken Miller married Jess Newton's daughter. And he was the superintendent out there,
Okay.
and so I got a letter of good intent, worked intent, and I give that to him, and he went along. Of course, it wasn't hard to get along. It's hard to get a job out there then because they needed people
Right.
after a strike.
Yeah.
And I started out there on the 9th of September 1955. 4 days later, that was on a Thursday. 4 days later, why, Stephen was born on a Tuesday after I went out there. That's when he was born in 55, about the 14th of September.
Okay, and Janet was born,
Oh,
she's younger.
53, but what, let's see, now Renee is on the 9th, Janice is on the 24th, I think.
Now, the oldest, you got Sandra, then Renee, and then who?
Janet
And then Stephen.
and Stephen.
Stephen's the youngest.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, he was born in 55.
I'm getting ready to turn it off. Okay. So you went to work with Kennecott in 55, right?
Yeah, that's right, 9/55 when I went to work for.
9/9/55, that's Mary Alice's birthday.
Is it?
The 9th of September, yeah.
Yeah, 9th of September.
And you were there for how long?
Well, I worked there until they shut it down in 1985, July. That's when they shut the whole caboodle
So
down.
you were there 30 years at Kennecott.
Well, I was there 30 years, all except about 4 weeks and maybe a day or two.
Okay.
I had that close of, I was that close to having 30 years again.
Okay.
That's right.
Now, what did you do at Kennecott? What were some of the jobs that you?
Well, I started out there, I guess, as like shoveling ore. We would put us on the track, that's where you start,
Right.
just for a couple of weeks, and then you move in, and then you have a chance of bidding on a better job, and so I bid up on the docks, and I worked days and afternoons up there
Okay.
on the docks. Let's see, then, days and afternoons, and then when what was that, 1958, I started that, and I was there about 12 and a half years on the docks. No, wait a minute, no, I was only on the, wait a minute. I was on the dock for 2 years, and I bid in the reverbs,
What's the reverbs?
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's where they pour the copper concentrates into the furnace, and then they tap it out into the pots in the aisle.
So it's hot.
Oh, yeah, something like about 2,000.
Very hot.
Well,
Okay.
one day, see, they had 4 men on the furnace, so one day you was tapping ore out of the furnace. Yet the next day, then you traded with your partners, and they tapped, and you was on cleanup. So you had to clean the ditches and laundry.
Mm.
So that wasn't so bad.
No.
A lot less work.
But you had to do one of those jobs every day.
Yeah, well, that's right. He was on the same furnace all the time, but they had 4 people on the furnace, and so 2 of you tapped in one day, and 2 of you tapped and you changed over for cleanup.
And then from there, you went and bid on what?
Well, let's see, in 1970, I bid in the pipe shop. I was as a pipe helper. And then in 1972, and I worked with the pipe fitter, for a while, for 2 years, and then in 1972, they offered me a class in pipe, go to school as a pipe fitter down here at Trade Tech on 4500, and I took that, and that lasted from 1972 to 76.
Wow.
Well, that's right, because you worked, you only went to, when you went to school, you only went to work, when you went to school, 2 quarters, and then you, every 6 months you got a 1 point raise, and it started putting me back on a 6. And then after a period of years, I get up to a class 15.
That's as high as you can get.
Well, 2 years later, the pipe fitters negotiated with the company to go to a 17. So I went from a 6 to a 17 class.
Yeah.
But before that, when I was on the furnaces, I was either, sometimes I was on the slag crew too when I was on the furnaces in the years of 60 to 70. And so took the slag out there and dumped it. I was a switchman on a train for a while, and then if somebody laid off, then I was the motorman. I ran the motor out there.
Okay.
And then later, when they shut that operation down,
Hang on. Stop right there.
shut that operation down, I drove them big Ute trucks out there. Somebody lay off on graveyard, so that'd give me move up to seniority, you know what I mean? Some of the guys didn't come to work all the time, and so any opening, they just move ahead one. I drove them Ute trucks out there till I got out of the reverbs. About 1970, I guess, I decided I didn't want to work around the furnace the rest of my life, and so I bid on the pipe shop. And then I was a helper for 2 years, and then in 1972, they offered me a chance for an apprenticeship as a pipe fitter. And so I took that and went down to Trade Tech.
Now, you worked full-time and then went to Trade
yeah.
Tech on Saturday, right?
That's right, they give us 6 days pay.
Okay, so you went 5 days, you worked 5 days.
Worked
and then-
5 days and went to school 1 day.
And they gave
And
you
it
6
was all the
days pay.
same. We had to go to school for 6 hours, and that was just another day's pay.
Oh, good.
Well, that wasn't so bad.
No, that was good.
And every 6 months, we get a point raise, and we finally got last 15,
Right.
in an advancement, apprenticeship advancement. Oh, I went down there. Oh, I still got some of my books around here with I had in school. You can't be a regular, what do you call a plumber, unless you work with a plumber.
Right.
I never did, and so I was just a pipe fitter. But I learned a lot. I learned how to cut, measure and cut pipe and figure things that way, but I had a machine there. I also, when I was in 1977, where they wanted somebody over there in the shop to splice cable. Well, I went over there for a while and learned how to do that, and I was just cable splicer there in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
But these here slings, put a loop on these slings. That wasn't so bad. Well, I done made a lot of them, and I kept them very happy. Well, they was happy with my work.
That's good. Well, you always knew how to work, Warren.
Oh yeah, that's right. I knew how to work. I can't say that about my son.
Oh, well. That's what got me my doctor's degree. I knew how to work.
Oh, I didn't mind working. I worked on the farm. I learned how to work. I
Yeah.
did.
I did too.
But there's a lot of things, you know, when you learn to work, you learn to do things, you learn to think.
Yep.
That's right. That's part of it.
Working is not easy, but you learn a lot from it, that's for sure.
Oh, that's right.
That's good.
Yeah, I've done a lot of things around home.
Yeah.
But in the 1930, of course, I was before now. 1937 and 8, I learned how to get the harnesses on the horses. And my grandpa, I used to load up the wagon up to Chapel's Mine and take a ton of coal down there to Grandpa Herbert's for $1. And that's, I didn't mind it.
Now, you got paid $1.
Yeah, for going up the mine, getting the coal.
How much did coal cost then? Do you remember? A ton of
Well, I
coal?
don't know, about 2 1/4, 2.5 a ton.
Yeah, I remember
Something like that.
3 something a ton when I was a kid.
Well,
By then I got a
2.5.
I got a truck, a pickup. Dad sent me over the pickup truck and dump it into the pickup and then I shovel it into the coal.
You know,
Yeah.
oh, I took the horses up there. Got a ton of coal and hauled it down there, and I hauled coal for us. I also hauled, Ted Solly had that place down there, Stokes, you know,
Right.
down on the lower end. And I hauled, he said he wanted some gravel one time, and he said, you wanna haul me a yard of gravel down here? And so I hauled quite a few yards of gravel down there to put in the front of them, chicken coops that he had.
Right.
I also dug out that, after they put the road in there, with the pipeline, the water line from Alf Stokes's pump had to be lowered so it wouldn't freeze, so I dug that out for him.
Yeah.
I dug that trench underneath the house so that, because on the north side there was frost down. That's why I put it under our water line, under the base, under the wall.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
the trench. That
No,
never freezed much, did it?
No, it never did freeze.
Froze to the water outside. the
Well,
trough.
yeah, but I did, one time I was worried about the wasting water and I shut it off and God knew we never, that was my fault, and it was froze up for 6 weeks.
I remember that.
Yeah.
We went to get, where was it, water from the creek, wasn't it, in barrels,
Yeah,
remember
I
that?
took the poor pun's clay over there
Yeah,
and
I
pulled a
remember.
barrel back, a couple of barrels back. Old Harvey used to bring his thawing machine up too. Climb up that pole, while we're done, and he'd unthaw it. He said, "Now let it run." I said, "All right."
Let it
I
run.
learned my lesson. It never did freeze off over there by the trough where the cows water.
Yeah,
That's where Dad, he fell down on that ice over there, and then after about a couple of months or so, he died, got pneumonia.
you think he died because of pneumonia, is that what you're understanding?
Well, I won't say that entirely. I'll say that only 50%, because he used to go down and have a beer once in a while, and I don't think that helped his body very much.
Yeah. But he was run down. I knew he was run down at that time. He died. And he fell down and had a hard time getting up. Because I
Yeah.
remember I was in New York at that time.
Yeah,
And Mother was saying that Dad fell down and had a hard time getting up.
well, that's right.
And Parker told him to not go out and milk cows, but he still went out and milked
But
cows.
he went out and milked cows, and that's where he got it.
Yeah, he couldn't get
I
up
know
again.
that. That night that had happened, why, Owen Staley called me and said he was gone.
Well, he called me in New York. Where were you in Salt Lake, weren't you?
Yeah, I was down here.
Yeah, he called me in New York. Yeah. And I came out for the funeral. Yeah. Now, memories about Grandpa Herbert, James O, and those. What have you got in that bank?
Well, I don't know, Herbert used to haul timber. He worked in the timber, he made a little money that way, and he used to do farming, but he was also a pike council in the church. He had his character was just like yours, good, very good. He always liked to help somebody. Because one time they said he found a dollar bill there by the store where Paul Barber's shop, a store
I remember
was.
that, yeah.
And he took it back in there and asked him who it belonged to.
Good.
Oh yeah, he was honest all the way.
Yeah.
Good, very good character. He was in,
C.B. Copley told me he was the smartest man he knew without a college education.
Herbert? Well, all right then. That's a good word for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's the smartest guy I ever knew
yeah, that's right.
without a college. He said he
Yeah,
read more.
he was always a good man too.
Yeah.
He never took advantage of anybody and things like that. He was always willing to help. I don't know, I learned to help and work on the farm too, because I took a team over there and helped Clifton and Blomquist with his dry farm up there back at the board station to give me $3, and I took that $3 and bought a student car, and I thought that was a pretty good deal. We'll work one day and get all the rest of the entertainment in high school covered.
That's right.
That's right, I figured that was fair. Didn't want much money, but it's a fair exchange.
That's right.
I used to go help Johnny Staples. I used to take the horse and wagon over there and haul grain off them dry farms for Johnny, and then Rulon and bring a team over to our place and help us.
Oh, on the thrashing machine.
Yeah, on the thrashing machine.
I remember those
Yeah,
thrashing.
yeah, that's right.
But I was younger than you by 10, but I remember the thrashing. Did you ever get in a contest to lift weed on your sack on the back? Because I was, one day they had a contest and who could take a sack of wheat, they'd weigh it, and to see who could put it on their back. That was one of the criteria of the strong man.
Yeah, I know Bert Reynolds used to do it. He used to put about 600 pounds on his back.
Bert who?
Violet's husband that lived by Uncle Ray. Remember Violet and,
Paul Staples?
I'm talking about Bert Randall. That used to
Oh,
live-
Bert, I remember.
Yeah, the one that used to live there by Uncle Ray's.
Right, in Huffman's place.
Yeah.
Okay, I
He
remember.
had a big broad back. He said,
Yeah.
600 pounds on his back.
Woo! 600 pounds.
Well, he was strong and big like Dad. When Dad worked down the mine, Dad could put his car back in his car and raise the car into the car and pick it back on the track. Well, they get strong, working down there. I never did have any intention of working in a mine, but I went down there one day and helped him shovel a car full of silica for him. So I just went down and come back, and they hauled silica out of there.
Well, he took me down one day.
It was mine.
He took me down one day and scared the living paylights out of me. Blasted off and everything. He said, "Do you want to work in a coal mine?" And I said, "Nope."
Well, I never did either. I never had no.
He didn't want me to work there, and I don't think he wanted anybody to work there. Was not what.
No, I didn't have no intention, so that's one reason when I got off mountain, or come out of service in 46, I went up and helped Alan Jones for, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 dang days up there. Helped him in the hayfield.
Now,
Right after that, I went to
Any
Mountain View.
any other experience with Herbert that you had that you can recall, or James, or either one of them?
Who was that Indian you used to feed? The Indian used to come by, Indian chief?
Oh, well, okay, Grandma and Grandpa Herbert they bought a piece of property in Wyoming, right near the corner. You know, you go up so far in the basin, the corner's
Right,
right there by the side of the road. They bought a piece of property up there by that corner, and they had to go to pay their taxes in Evanston before they moved down on Vern Clark's farm.
Okay.
I don't know, I never did
Was that
see
near
him.
Yellow Creek?
No, Yellow Creek is way to the south
Okay,
and back in Utah.
okay.
Right there where the state corner is, or you go across that little bridge and back through there, down through there, back through there, and then go east, and that's where Yellow Creek is.
Okay.
What do you call it, the West Fork of the Bears up in there.
Okay.
Yeah, right up in there. That's where we went hunting deer.
Mhm.
I went up with Ted Robinson several times up there in that area. I used to take Dad's pickup, and then we got a deer where we could haul it out of there. That first one I ever bought, I helped buy that. I bought that pickup for him, and then paid $1,250, and then they gave me $1,000 back. I said, well, I sold her in Oregon. Well, I don't know why I didn't care about that. But when I was staying there working for Mountain Fuel, I put every other check in a bank, so, and then I could buy my car. That 41 Chevy I bought, Bob Williams had that. That was a good running car. And then when it got 74,000 on it, well, I had it overhauled and I got 140,000 off it. That was a little car, that 41.
Yeah.
The pistons were bigger in it, and it was a good running car. I used that to put down here. Well, Rue stayed up. I started out there at Kennecott in 55, and I guess Rue never come down till 57 when she married Jess in 57. And moved out here and went down to that.
When Emma married Jesse. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. 57. Okay.
Yeah.
You can tell about this Indian.
Oh.
Get back to the Indian.
Well, I don't know too much about it. All I remember is when Grandma Herbert was up Chalk Creek on them pieces of property, why, Grandma told me, she said, Chief Washakie used to come up through here to go out through to Wyoming. See, you know, just over the hill was Bear River Valley, which went down to Evanston. And the Indians used to come up there, and she said they used to feed them and get along with them all right because they fed them. And there was no problem because when you feed Indians, well, they're not too bad on you, I guess, from what I understand. But I
Now
can't remember.
that was Herbert's wife
Yes.
that used to feed the Indians?
Yeah, she was, Herbert's wife was Mary Meadows. John Meadows' sister, and she said when she was young, you know, probably before she turned 16, I guess they weren't very nice to her, or mean with her or something like that. That's the understanding I got, that she was kind of mean to her, and so once she got 16 and I guess Herbert and Mary got together and they got married. And they had, that was a good family because they had Uncle Ira, and he became a forester, Uncle Reuben became a dentist, and Wilford became a high school teacher, married Aunt Gwen, whose father was from Logan, her name was Gwen Roosh. Her father was a patriarch. And I guess Wilford and they had a good family too. Some of them I think one of them's out in Kansas, and I think Sharon's still down in Cedar City. They're up in Alaska, she's a pharmacist. Farmstead, I think that's what her husband is too, in Alaska right now. I don't know, I don't think they come back.
Back to Herbert, did you used to go down to his house to visit?
Huh?
Did you used to go down to Herbert's
Yes,
house?
I went down there a lot. We even went down there, and Coral and Della was both up to Oakley, and I don't remember whether Reuben come up or not, but we used to have a Thanksgiving dinner down there, and the whole family met down there in Colville.
What was it like?
Huh?
What was it like at Thanksgiving? How many people?
Well, I don't know, it was just a good family. We all got together and we had a dinner and talked and.
What did they give you to eat for Thanksgiving? What did they
Oh,
feed
no.
you?
Yeah, well, the turkeys were no problem. We just cooked the turkey, had all the turkeys and everything else, just like everybody else. But I used to go down there and after Grandpa, okay, when I come back from the service in a January 1946 way, Herbert was laying on the bed and his feet was all black. He only lived about 2 weeks after I came back in 46 out of the service. But Mary, after a while, like Grandma Mary, she had a big garden there, back in there, in the back of the house there, and so she couldn't take care of it, and so Coral took her up to live with her up in Oakley for quite a while. So till she died, I guess. That's the way that was.
Was she a good cook, Herbert's wife?
Yes.
What did you like that she cooked? What was good?
I don't know. Oh, we used to have, I don't know, I used to go down there and eat a little bit. You know how kids are, they like to go down and eat with their grandparents, and I used to go down there and help them out and things like that.
How did you help them? What did you do?
Huh?
How did you help them?
Well, after Herbert died, I went down there and took care of her garden for a while. And watered it, and I'd get the water going in the back of there where the garage was, and they had a lot of good stuff there. They had a nice row of raspberries right down the side there where the car went into the garage along that driveway, and then they had carrots and beans and potatoes and all that stuff over there in the garden right next to it. I had to water it, and so I went down there and took care of it for her. And I'd done that same thing with my other grandpa.
Did Herbert ever tell you about his father
No, I don't think so.
or his mother, Joanna? No, that wouldn't be his mother.
Oh, brothers.
That'd be the Meadows.
Brothers, now wait a minute.
His father.
Uncle Ernest and Uncle Walter and Uncle Arthur. Up Chalk Creek was all his brothers. I used to go up there. Mother and Dad used to go up there and
They own half a chocolate, those Clarks. One time.
we'd go up there and visit with them. And then Amy, her Grayson's wife, and they'd give us a little dinner and stuff like that. And I used to take the team up. I used to take our team up to Cecil so he could use them on the push rake, the bull rake. You know, the big one. Used to use our team up there about a week or so, pushing in the hay and that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I used to take them up there. I'd get on and harness them up and take them up there, and then I'd stay overnight. And then one time Uncle Ernest, one time he gave me a .22 and he said, "You want to go out and kill some squirrels?" Back in 36 and 37, it was just lousy all over the place. I went out there in the field one day and just shot squirrels. You know, just for fun. But he was a good man too.
Ernest?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ernest.
Low key.
Well, you don't want me to tell you about what
Maybe.
killed him?
No, tell me, I don't know.
Well, okay, he gun used to borrow our 12 gauge shotgun, and he used to go hunting pheasants with it out in Manila or someplace out in there, and the gun was still up there. So about 5 o'clock in the morning, I guess, Uncle Ernest heard a big rumpus out there like a coyote or something like that was getting in the sheep. He grabbed the shotgun. I guess he didn't realize the thing was cocked. And so when he went out the door to the east side, you know, that you've probably been in the 60,000 years.
Right.
On the east side there, he went out that door, and I guess all of a sudden, why, he must have had the hammer back, and the stupid hammer, the gun went off and hit him in the head. That's how he died.
Bullet.
Yeah, no, or shotgun.
Well, the shotgun hit him in the
Yeah, a
head.
shotgun shell.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that's right. No, I remember. He was all sad about that. I don't know whether Leslie borrowed it up and went up, had it up.
Grayson used to
Ethel
borrow it.
Leslie, you know, Uncle Walter's daughter had it. I think he had the gun up there, and I'm not sure whether he got shot with it. No,
Grayson used to borrow it.
oh yeah, he bought it for pheasants. So he bought it for pheasants.
Whoever got that gun?
So I got it right here in the house. You want it?
Yeah, when you die, I'll take it.
Did Mary Meadows ever tell you about her parents, her father,
No.
Joseph Meadows, or mother
Well, I guess I
Johanna?
never, well, you know how kids are, they don't think about things like that at the time so you can get,
Did you get the 22 too? Who got the 22?
well, I think
That WR,
character,
that
Huh?
WRF, that little one with the,
oh, I don't know, I don't know who got that one, I don't know whether Ira picked it up or not.
and the one with the,
WRF.
yeah, the WRF was a real rare.
Well, I think Howard stole my 22, the other one I bought in Ogden,
Howard Blomquist.
Blomquist, because he was up there after, he had cows up there after that, and then the house was open, so he walked in there and picked it up. No, I bought and paid for that one, that was a good 22.
You mean the bolt action?
Yeah, the bolt action,
I
that's
remember,
right.
with the peep shot.
That's right, I filed that front sight down so I could,
Get one.
when you put it on there, it hit.
Yeah, I
I
remember
used
that.
to practice.
Had a clip.
Yeah, I had a 5-shot clip.
Yep.
And then later I bought a 10-shot clip down to Miller's where that gunsmith was for it.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know where that is.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't mind having that shotgun.
Well, I don't know, they might have made, he put a choke in it. It used to hold about 6 rounds.
I know that.
If you take that out, then it'd be, you got about 6 rounds in it.
Yeah.
That was a good shotgun.
Yeah, very good. Had a kick on it, baby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, one time I let, there was a sheep herder up on the hills there that was, I don't remember his name, up on Johnny's there.
Yeah.
Had sheep up on there, and I took it up to him for a few days, and he used it
For coyotes or what, huh?
up there. I don't know. No, one time they used to clip a pheasant or something like that. And that's
Oh, I see.
That was the best meat I ever had, and then he had a pheasant up there one day when I was up there, and some sourdough bread. Boy, that was good. That's right.
What did back to Herbert? What did he like to do at home when you were playing around? Was he reading or gardening, or what do you remember him
Well,
doing?
yeah, he kept a very well organized yard when he went down there, and he did on the farm too. He kept his place all neat, and he had the strawberries and stuff like that, and he'd water them and take care of them and weed them and stuff like that when he was down in Colville. And he was always conscientious about having a nice clean place to live in. He was very good about that, and I think he was in the high council or something like that in the church. And he was, you know what I mean, he was that kind of a man who was good. And things like that. I admired him, and very conscientious about keeping things in order and things like that.
What was his wife like?
Well, she was the same way he was. She just, I don't know, she was always good and conscientious. She didn't mind helping people and things like that.
Do you remember, Lauren, when she had a good day and a bad day?
Yeah.
Remember that? And I didn't find out for years what the good days and bad days. The good days was she worked all day in 24 hours, and then the bad days, she slept the next day.
Oh, I don't know. She finally went up to Corals and she took care of her till she died because she couldn't. After a while, you just can't cope with everything and do everything. And so Coral took her up there, and that's where she died.
She died, I thought she died here in a nursing home in Salt Lake City.
Well, she might have done, but she went up to Corals.
I know what she did for a long time.
All right, you're probably right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then Coral brought her down here to a nursing home, and she died
You probably did.
in the fall when we came back in '63.
Yeah.
I got to see her just before she died on that. Okay, why don't we,
What about your dad's family, your dad's father?
James O. and Matilda, anything on them? I gotta
Okay,
go back.
James.
That's okay, it's picking it up.
Oh,
You can
keep
keep
talking.
going, keep going.
James, I don't know, James O. Clark came, I don't know just when he came here, but they built a home over there by George Robinson on the south side of the creek, and that's where Uncle Ray's garden was, and he had that property plus the big field, or Uncle Ray had that property plus the big field property plus the property above on the north side of the Chalk Creek Road where he lived. But anyway, Dad and Ray and Lee, I guess they helped build that house over there, and they had a spring up on the hill. They run the water down to it, and they made a home out of it, over on that side of the creek, on that south side of the creek, and they had a garden. They had a garden over there just west of the house, and James O, I guess he worked in a coal mine all his life. He was just like Dad, just good. And
What was Matilda like?
well, she was good. Matilda Ball. Wait a minute, Matilda Bamford Ball Clark. Oh,
They had a spring there.
Up above the back of the house.
Yeah.
Well, they piped the water down. They piped the water in a 3/4 line right down to the house.
I went over there and the spring was still coming.
Well, that's where I got, we didn't have too much money, so me and Dad went over there and dug up about 50 feet of that line and brought the pipe over and put it in our house when it went under the wall.
Oh,
That's
yeah?
where the pipe from that come from.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, well, that's all work. Yeah, I had to do work, I guess. I took care of the barns and cleaned the barns and Dad done most of the feeding because sometimes we didn't have too much hay and you had to ration it out.
Did you get, when you were 8, did Dad give you a cow to milk? Or when did you start milking cows?
Oh, I started milking them about the time I was 8 years old. That's when he was trying to dry up and they just let me milk them to practice.
That's what he did with me.
Yeah.
I got baptized in the church and he said, now you're accountable. You now have a cow.
Who said that?
My Dad.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he told me that. He got a cow.
I don't know. I just worked there to work, I guess.
You got a cow every night and morning. It was the same thing. You dried up a cow. Murdered on a cow.
I remember milking Old Spot and Old Blackie and
I remember those.
a Guernsey or Jersey or something like
Yeah.
that.
Dimp, old Dimp. Remember Dimp?
Who?
A cow by the name of Dimp. I remember Spot, but there was a cow named Dimp.
Oh, Dimp. I don't know. I don't remember that name. I just knew her by Spot.
Well, there was a Spot was different than Dimp.
I don't know. No, I don't remember that one.
Okay. Dimp was a tough one. She'd kick you before you ever knew it.
Can you remember when you learned to ride a horse?
Oh yeah.
What happened?
Well, I went up on the farm when I was 29, and I couldn't get on her. Old Dutch. She was just a little bit frisky for me anyway, but finally I got her over the krill fence, and I climbed up the krill fence you got on her, and that's how you got on the rider. And so I used to do that way, but I rode her lots of miles between, I used to go up on the hills and bring the cows off and bring them home from the creek pastures, and I used to go up the lane with Roy Meadows and up there where he had his cows grazing out during the day. And at night we'd go back up and get them and things like that. I used to ride her to a show once in a while. I rode her all over the mountains on the north side of the house. They used to have a oil well up there. They used to drill it with cables, and I don't know,
Never did strike it, did they?
No, what they got up in Horace was good oil. They got a little bit out of there up in Horace. We're on,
Oh, yeah? You got some out of there.
huh?
Not a lot though, did they?
No, that was the only problem. If they'd have hit her hard, maybe I wouldn't be here now.
That's right. We'd be in heaven, all of us.
I'd have had money to stay up there.
That's right. Where did they really hit oil?
I don't
Cecil
know.
hit oil and
I don't
Newton's.
know, up around Newton somewhere, they said they got some up around Newton's place.
I heard Newton was making 300,000 a year on the oil.
Well, he was doing all right. I think some of the Blanquists was, I think the judge of the Blanquists had an oil up there, oil well up there too on the south side over in South Fork.
Oh, they got
They
some
got
up
a
there.
little out of there, but
Okay.
Bill Judd had a bunch.
But I hear Cecil got some too. There's some on Cecil's
Yeah,
place
he
up
got a
there.
little bit. I don't think Cecil made much. I think he got the best of the deal when he built his house and then the oil run out.
Then the what?
Oil,
Oh, the oil quit?
yeah, I don't think he got much out of there. But the oil company paid him enough to pay for the house up there.
Yeah. I knew they had a house up there. Any other questions, Ray else? Because I think we've questioned out.
Let's see, you've got some grandchildren. Tell us about your grandchildren.
Oh,
You've got, what, 3 grandchildren?
yeah.
Michael?
Well, Mike's doing all right. He lives out down on Redwood Road there somewhere. Oh, what, 40th South or someplace down there. He is with him and another kid developed this here, got into the computer repair business, and that's what he's doing. He makes about $16 an hour. And I said, well, if you went to school, you could probably double your salary, and he likes it. He likes it. And he got graduated out of high school, and so that gave him a diploma. And so then he went to, about that time, before he got out of high school, he was working with this kid in computer repair, which is a pretty good business, I guess. There seems to be a lot of them. He goes all over. Salt Lake, he goes up, he's been up in Idaho, he's been down in Arizona. I think he's been down in the Caribbean, repairing computers, stuff like that. So he's smart. And there's Danny, I don't know about him.
How's Michelle
He's
doing?
like that one out in the kitchen.
How's Michelle doing?
Fine.
What's she?
She is working. She is taking classes. She's an A student. She is taking classes in high school to help her get college. What do you call it?
Entrance into college. So she can go to college.
Yeah, she's taking them classes to do that. She's just about an A student. She's doing fine. Danny, I don't know. He ain't even got his driver's license. He's one of these locomotion kids.
Tell us about your dog here. How long have you had him?
Well, she's been around since about 1983 or 4 when she come here as a pup.
Where'd you get this dog from, Lon?
I don't know. Some girlfriend gave Janet a dog, so it's her dog.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't,
Good companion, huh?
yeah.
Okay, why don't we stop? We got 2 hours.